So let's now have a look at multi-time frame structure, which sometimes causes a little bit of a problem for many beginners in trading. Well, I'm here to tell you that it really isn't that difficult, and with a little bit of practice and experience, it will become very, very clear. And reading the markets with that higher time frame backing will just accelerate your trading growth, okay? So imagine that this is the 4-hour time frame, okay? We have a 4-hour bullish trend made up of impulse and correction legs. The trend's obviously bullish here because we're making a series of higher highs and higher lows, right? So this is a very, very important nugget of information down here, okay? A leg on a higher time frame is a trend on a lower time frame. A leg on a higher time frame is a trend on a lower time frame. So let me show you exactly what I mean by that. Now, imagine then in this diagram, imagine this black line here of impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse is exactly the same as this impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, okay? So this black line here is the same as the previous diagram. It is a 4-hour bullish trend to the upside, okay? So just ignore the red line for the time being, but the black line here then is the 4-hour structure, and the blue line is the M15 structure, okay? And ignore the red line for the time being. So I just want to state first that higher time frame structure carries more significance than lower time frame structure, okay? So we expect a 4-hour strong low or strong high to hold over the M15 strong low or strong high holding, okay? So here we look at the 4-hour and we see we have an impulse, a correction, an impulse that breaks 4-hour structure to the upside, okay? After a 4-hour break of structure, what do we expect? We expect a 4-hour pullback, okay? We expect a pullback on that time frame. How do we know, how do we pinpoint when this 4-hour pullback is going to start? Well, the M15 switching bearish is a signal that the 4-hour is ready to pull back, okay? So when the blue line, which is the M15 structure, breaks to the downside, right here, it then facilitates the pullback of the 4-hour structure, okay? So this is our 4-hour strong low. This is our 4-hour weak high. We expect price, after this break structure, to pull back into the strong low to then target the weak high, okay? How is that going to happen? The M15 is going to switch bearish and form a bearish trend to facilitate the 4-hour pullback, okay? So the lower time frames facilitate the pullback of the higher time frames, okay? Then once price then pulls back into an area of value on the 4-hour, so this is our 4-hour strong swing low, and price has pulled back into an area of value near our 4-hour strong swing low, we then expect the 4-hour strong structure to hold and to target this 4-hour weak swing high, okay? So from a 4-hour perspective, we expect a break of structure, a pullback into the strong low, and then to target that weak structure to the upside, okay? If that's going to happen, and if the 4-hour structure is going to hold to target that weak high, then what must happen? The M15 structure must switch bullish, which it does here, to then facilitate the 4-hour impulse leg to the upside to target this 4-hour weak swing high, okay? And this is because the higher time frames carry more significance than the lower time frames. So we expect the 4-hour to impulse, correct, impulse, okay? And so when we're at this point here, we expect that at some point, there's obviously a lot more confluences that go into it, but we expect at some point that the M15 is going to switch bullish to then facilitate that next 4-hour impulse leg to the upside, okay? So the lower time frames facilitate the pullback and the impulse legs of the higher time frames. So in this area of value then, in our 4-hour impulse leg, we now expect the 4-hour structure to hold even if the M15 structure has to break to facilitate this. The M15 structure now shifts bullish, breaking that structure to the upside, right? And forms a bullish trend, which is now the next 4-hour impulse leg to the upside, okay? So this is one 4-hour impulse leg to the upside, which is formed through a M15 bullish trend, okay, of impulse and correction legs to the upside. Okay, so you can see then that the impulse and the correction legs of the 4-hour, so this impulse leg, this correction leg, this impulse leg, this correction leg, of the 4-hour are facilitated by bullish and bearish trends on the M15, okay? So now to take it one step further and add another time frame. So we now know that the M15 structure facilitates the impulse and correction legs of the 4-hour, okay? Now I'm going to say that the 4-hour structure facilitates the impulse and correction legs of the daily, okay? So if you now look at the red line, imagine that the red line is the daily time frame. The bullish trend on the 4-hour, making higher highs and higher lows on the 4-hour, right, is just one single impulse leg on the daily, okay? So this is one impulse leg on the daily, and then this is going to be a correction leg on the daily, and this impulse leg is made up of 4-hour structure. It's a 4-hour bullish trend that makes up that one impulse leg of the daily, okay? Then say we have a daily break of structure here, because this is the daily impulse leg to the upside. How do we expect a pullback on the daily, right? How do we know when that pullback is going to occur? Well, the 4-hour now may switch bearish, right? It may break this structure here and switch bearish to now facilitate the daily pullback into the strong daily low. Okay, say the daily low is down here. Then what do we expect? We expect that the daily wants to impulse, correct, and then impulse again. How is that going to be facilitated? Well, the 4-hour is then going to switch bullish to then facilitate that next daily leg to take out the weak daily high. Okay? So the 4-hour facilitates the impulse and correction legs of the daily, and the M15 facilitates the impulse and correction legs of the 4-hour. Okay? So the 4-hour impulse legs and correction legs are made up of a bullish and bearish trend on the M15, and the daily correction and impulse legs, right, the daily impulse and correction legs are made up of a 4-hour trend, a 4-hour bullish trend up here, and then a 4-hour bearish trend here. And then when we want to target this weak daily high, the 4-hour is going to switch bullish again to facilitate that. Okay, so the 4-hour facilitates the impulse and correction legs of the daily, or the M15 facilitates the impulse and correction legs on the 4-hour. Okay, this is such a powerful concept, and I know that when you get your head around this, it will do incredible things for your trading. Okay, it will get you trading in line with the market much more often, and your trading is just going to improve tenfold.